Hey guys, Brian Osborne here from Answers in Genesis, and right now I'm on Rottnest Island with what's called quokkas. All right, this is an island off the coast of Perth, off Western Australia, and these quokkas are really interesting creatures. So they're kind of like a mini wallaby, which are already small, or like a really big, cute rat, if that's even possible. But that's what they are. They're really neat, and it's pretty cool. They're literally all over the place, and it's funny. One of the things about this island that's pretty well known is that all over this island you have these quokkas. And when we got here, when you first arrive on the island, of course you arrive at the dock and you go into town. You don't see that many initially, but then you start looking underneath the crevices, underneath the trees or dark corners, anywhere food is. You start finding these things everywhere. So even though you may not see them initially, their presence is literally everywhere on this island. And they are cute, and they make some really cute faces, and they really want your food, and they're all running away now. But they're amazing. And I think I want to draw a correlation to the lesson we're looking at with Esther. Esther, one of my favorite historical accounts in all of history as we read in God's Word. And what's so neat to that whole account to me is as you read through the account of Esther, and we're watching God sovereignly control all the events in that particular historical account. But God's name is never mentioned as you read through Esther. You don't see the name God, yet his hand is so clear. He is so actively involved in everything taking place in the book of Esther. And so in a similar way, you don't see the quokkas initially here on the island, but they are there everywhere once you look a little deeper. Same thing with Esther. Once you look a little deeper, just beneath the surface, you see God literally everywhere. And so with Esther, we know how it all goes down. You see more details in your lesson, but of course we recognize that God sovereignly raised up Esther to become queen of Persia at just the right time. We see how God put Mordecai in the right place to provide the news to save the king's life earlier on, and later on that's used to remind the king he needed to actually give a reward to the guy who did that when he couldn't sleep at night. And then that's when Mordecai is recognized as someone who's good to the king and valuable, and that leads to the fall of Haman in different ways. And we're seeing just God's hand work through all of this, because even though that we see God's people, the Jews, they're under attack by Haman, who hated Mordecai, who hated the Jews, wanted to annihilate them. God was in all of the details surrounding this event, and that did not catch him by surprise. And he had raised up Mordecai, he'd raised up Esther for just a time as this to save the nation of Israel from this peril, and really to lead to their just establishment and growth within that particular place and where they're at that particular time. God was in the details. He was in sovereign control of all of it. And of course, we know how God uses Esther to move the king's heart, to give Israel away, the Jews a way to defend themselves. And then, of course, they survive. They actually thrive as a result. Haman is killed. Their threat is killed. And we see just the Jews prevail. And because of that, the Jewish lineage is kept intact. And from that lineage comes the Messiah, who will provide salvation for our souls. And so this is so important on so many levels. I think the big picture I just want to draw from this, other than the fact these quokkas are really cute, is that as we look at this particular event, even though God is not mentioned by name in the account of Esther, his hand is all over the place. And I know I look back on my life, I can look back with, hindsight's 2020, but I can see God's hand everywhere in so many ways. He's working all these things to bring himself glory and for my good. And let's remember that, like with Esther, we don't see his name explicitly, but we know he's working. And in our lives, when we can't really see his name explicitly in the details, we don't know what he's doing or why he's doing it, we can be sure that he is in control and he is using it for his glory, as he always did, and as he's always done. And of course, it is for our good. So let these cute quokkas be a great reminder of that in a very weird way. It was fun to get them in the video. Hope that's encouraging to you guys, and we'll talk later on.